Hi, everyone. Welcome to Cozy Corner Chronicles. My name is Julia,
And I'm Liz.
and we are back with another chapter chat for Lunar Love. So,
Woo!
I will keep saying this in every episode. Call me biased, but I really like this book.
I honestly, these last four chapters really had me kicking and giggling because it was funny, it was cute, it was witty, it was all of the above, and it really had me in a chokehold. Honestly,
I agree. And it was your classic rom com. Like, it was so funny. So, let's just get right into it. So, of course,
yeah.
last time we had talked, we had witnessed Bennett's date that Olivia had set up.
hmm
So, it is fitting that this time we witness Olivia's date that Bennett has set up.
Oh yes.
So, do
Oh
you want to
Bennett. Oh
tell us?
Bennett.
I know, B.O.B. Bob. So, do you want to tell us a little bit about this date that she went on with Bennett's mystery man that she set her up with? He set her up with. There we go.
Oh, absolutely. And just being Liv and the person that she is, of course she's curious and she's not really open, right? So Bennett's like, hey, you have to keep an open mind, otherwise the date is just not going to work out. And of course, why wouldn't Bob be there? So they end up he ends up buying them super nice tickets to this baseball game. And he's like, she's freaking out, and he's like, you're fine, like, don't worry about it. And they're like shopping in the little gift shops and stuff and walking around. And so she goes down and she meets her date, and I can't even remember what his name is. That's how
Me
irrelevant he
either.
is.
Literally.
So she's like trying to chop it up with him or whatever, and she's like, you know what, I'm kind of hungry, do you want something? He was like, oh, let me do the honors, I will go get you something to eat. And she was like, no, it's cool. Like, I'll go get it, because I really want a Dodger dog. Can't get him anywhere but here. And he's like, okay. Like, the fuck? Like, why would you even say something like that? Can you just give me a beer? and and so she's like running up and she's gonna go get food. Of course, she runs into Bennett, and Bennett's like, dude, what are you doing here? Like, right now. And she's like, I'm trying to get food. I'm starving. And he was like, oh, you should try the Dodger dogs. You can only get them here.
I was like, are they meant to be or what?
Right. And she's like, oh, I literally just said that. Da, da, da. So he was like, okay, how about this? You go back to your date because I just set you up on the best date possible, and I'll get your food for you. Come up here in like 10 minutes. And then they kind of like, she goes back to her date. They chop it up a little bit, and it's like 30 minutes has passed. And she's like, he's like, wait, don't you have to get the food? And she's like, oh shit. So she like runs back up and she goes to Bennett and she's like, give me the food. And he was like, yeah, if you want warm beer and cold food, whatever, da da da, here's the food. And he was like, how's it going? And like they're literally having this whole conversation while the other person is like there. She literally did it on his date with Harper.
Literally. And
So,
I think that it's funny because, like, during the game, I think the reason that Bennett ended up matching them was because I remember the dude also like ran his family business. So he kept also
mhm,
looking at his phone, and they kind of bonded over the fact that they both ran the family business, but it really wasn't anything more than that. Like, they didn't have as much in
mhm,
common, or like the fun banter that Bennett and Liv had. So,
mhm. And she even said like it wasn't a bad date, but it also wasn't like the best date she's ever been on. So why don't you go ahead and take us into that next little part?
so this was so freaking funny because I can't even remember exactly all the nitty-gritty details, but she ends up kind of being like, "Oh yeah, like you said, the date was it was fine, but it wasn't like amazing." So
Mm-hmm.
she's like, "Yeah, like I'm not in love, like the whole bet was that
Mm-hmm.
they could make each other fall in love, blah blah blah." And so
Mm-hmm.
she takes this time, I remember, to pivot, and it's like, "Oh, but let me set you up on a date with like Harper again. Like, how do you feel about
Mm-hmm.
seeing her?" And he's like, "Yeah, like I guess I would do that." And then so she texts Harper, and Harper is like, "Hey girl, like he was great, but I just don't think it's gonna work out. And she's
Yeah.
like, no, because I'm gonna lose this bet. But anyways, I can't remember exactly what conversation they were having that led to this point, but then I think they decided they were like, he was basically like, should we call off the bet?
Well, no, no, no.
Because
So remember, Liv had already set up a date for Harper and Bennett,
oh, that's
and
right.
it
They
was a
yes,
yeah.
the garden
Mm-hmm.
or something like that. It was
Yes.
yes. And then that's when Harper canceled last minute. Yes, now it's ringing
Mm-hmm.
bells for me. So then yeah,
Yes.
and it was so cute because Bennett was like, well, like, you're already here and we already got the tickets. Like, you want to just go,
Just
together?
go with me. You want to go with
And
me?
she's like, yeah, and she was like, oh, well, like, I've always wanted to do this too. Screw it, let's just do it.
Yeah.
And of course, they have a great time, because we know already that they are freaking compatible,
In
even though they're
love.
not compatible. Yeah, and it's really cute. And I don't know, like, I love Bennett. I really like his character. And
Same.
I just think that he does a very good job of balancing Liv out, and he's not as intense as Liv is. And I think that's what I really like about him, is because Liv is so intense. Like, she is so stubborn, so intense.
And she's so like methodical. Like I feel like she's like an ABC person. Like she cannot get out of a routine or get out of the mindset that she's already put herself in. Like for example, with the Chinese zodiac stuff and just being incompatible. And I get it. Like she experienced past trauma with being with someone who's incompatible or setting up her best friend with someone who's incompatible and then it just didn't work out. But again, circumstantial. Like I feel like sometimes like love wins over those things and if you get so caught up in that like you're just never going to find somebody who really is for you. Like if that makes sense.
Right, and that brings us back to earlier on in the book when Bennett literally said that when they were having that anonymous argument when they went to that convention. And
Mhm.
I think, is this also the part where Granny admits like how she knows Bennett and about the parents, because I remember Liv tries to ask, right? Or something about how even grandma wasn't compatible with grandpa or something like that.
So after this little scene of them going on the date, remember he lands a fat one on her and they just smooch the night away pretty much. And then what you're talking about is she ends up seeing her grandmother the next day and they're like making dumplings together and like all this stuff. And like when someone's talking to you, but then you're like in La La Land, that's kind of where she was with her grandmother. And so her grandma was like saying all this stuff and she'd be like for example, this is what how I imagine it in my head. Her grandma's like, "Yeah, I can't wait to watch the movie with you tonight." And she's like, folding her dumplings and stuff. And then Liv goes, "Yeah, my favorite color is pink."
Yeah, exactly.
And she's like, "What's on your mind? Why are you so bothered right now?" And she's like, "I'm not bothered. I'm bothered? Are you sure? I'm not bothered." And her grandma's like, "Okay, like spill the beans. Like, what's going on?" And she's
Right.
like, "Beans? What beans? How do you spell beans?" Like, she's
That's
just
like
trying to play it
exactly how I
off.
imagine it.
Yeah. And she's trying to play it off. And then she's like, "Are you in love?" And she's like, "Love? What's love?" And so they basically go into this whole spiel about like how um, her sister was with someone who's like incompatible, and then her aunt was the one who was with somebody incompatible, and they weren't happy about those things. Or like she was asking her grandmother, like, "You're happy about that?" And she's like, "Hey, sometimes love conquers that stuff. People can be incompatible, but if love wins, love wins." And she's like, "Oh." She's like, "So spill the beans. Like, what is going on?" And she was like, "Oh, well, me and Bennett, we set up a bet, just do this, that, and the third." Mind you, we also found out that her grandma actually was looking into Bennett to set up Liv with to begin with.
Yes, and I remember this because Bennett was like, "Your grandma never told you about me?" And she's like,
Yeah.
"No." You're
Yeah.
like,
And
"Well,
yeah, Grandma was like, "Oh yeah, surprise, whoop de woo! I was the one who was trying to set up you and Bennett in the first place, but Bennett said no because he just wasn't in the right mindset." And she was like, "Oh, interesting." She was like, "Why does it matter anyways? Because you also said no." And she was like, "Oh well, about that." And then she then reveals Bennett actually came to her and said, "Hey, I want to basically merge, or I want to join
Mhm.
Lunar Love." And in terms of like with all the technology and all this stuff, he wanted to bring that to Lunar Love. And the auntie and grandma were like, yeah, we do things old fashioned here. So no,
Right.
that's why he branched off to make Zodiac Cupid.
And I think I love the way that this story kind of just unfolds because then I remember the dynamic was like, even though we kissed though, Bennett still tried to like set her up on a second date. And
Mm-hmm.
she was like, oh man, like I guess she's like, I'm overthinking it, right? She's like, should I text him? Should I not text him? Like, oh my God, is
Mm-hmm.
this bet still on? Like, what's going on? And then I remember I think she's like my heart sank or whatever, like when she thought that she was actually being set up on a second date by Bennett. And
Yeah.
I can't remember if he actually set her up or if this was his plan all along because I remember
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Oh, like maybe I should cancel or whatever. Like, do you want me to be there? All that stuff." And this is what we were talking about because it was so cheesy, but it was so cute
And
because
I
she shows
called it
up,
in my head too. I'm
lit-
like, this is not
lit-
happening. This is not
literally,
happening.
literally. So she like walks up to the place that they're supposed to meet, and they're talking, of course, chopping it up, bantering, all that stuff. And she's obviously nervous because she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen him since we, you know." And and then she's like, "Okay, well, like, who's the guy?" And he like, I remember he like walks around.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I'm gonna go get him. Be right back."
And he like walks around this like wall, and he's like, "Ta-da! It's
Ta-da!
me!" And I was dying, and I was like, "This is the definition of a rom com," because the way that I busted out laughing, I was like, "This right here is gold." And she was, of course, really excited, really happy, and they went on their date together. It was too funny, guys. You have to read it. You have to
Yes,
be there.
and he was like, so I remember that you're a horse, and horses like to be adventurous. So, we're going on a boat, and oh,
Yes.
we're having a picnic on a boat." And
And
she was like, "Wait, what?"
she's like,
And
I hate water.
yeah, and he was like, "Oh, okay, hold on." He pulls out his phone. He's like, "What other traits am I missing? Did I miss the mark on that one?" It was so funny because I was like, he's trying now,
He
and
is.
I think he knows that Liv cares more about the Zodiac stuff more than he does. But the fact that he tried to, and not swoon, but he's trying to bring it back up so that he is kind of not impressing her, but trying to show her that he cares too.
Right. And I mean, she's like, no, 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 like you paid for it. We're here. Like, let's just go. So, of course, like they get on the yacht and she's like, oh, okay. It's like not too bad after all. So it was cute. Like, he literally rented out a freaking yacht to have a picnic. Like, dang, I need someone
And
to do that for
then
me. Anyone
he
own a
made her
yacht?
favorite. He made her favorite
Literally. And
because
this
he
man, like,
remembered it from like the first, oh, from her first profile. Yeah,
I
so
can't. Bennett is
it was
man
sweet.
crush.
Yeah, and then
It
they were like
was.
kissing on the boat and stuff. I mean, to be expected.
Yeah. So, I mean, needless to say, obviously, I mean, I'm not gonna say obviously, but I hope to God that they are together by the end. I mean, I would literally be
Oh,
so mad.
he's going to the wedding.
Yes, he is. That's a big thing too. He's going to the wedding. She was like nervous, like, can you like come with me to the wedding or
Yeah.
and
Do you
it was
want to
cute.
be plus one?
And I'm excited because you know the next scene's probably going to be the wedding, and I just want to see. It's either going to be really good, or wedding scenes are either good or they're bad. And oh my god, you already know she's going to catch the bouquet.
I
She's going to catch the bouquet, guaranteed. Calling it
didn't
now.
even think about that.
And then the epilogue, they're running around with some babies.
Yeah,
That's what.
yeah. I think this book, it gives us a happy ending, so let's pray for that because I don't see it going any other way at this point.
Yes, but it's cute. Like, this book is seriously so cute, and like we had said time and time again, people are very harsh in their reviews about the book, but it's good, guys. Like,
It's
it
not
is.
what people thought it was going to be because it's not what it was intended to be. Like this is not about Chinese zodiac. Like it yes, it does involve it, but it's not all about that. It's literally a romance book. Like what else could you have expected?
And it is a good, funny romance book at that. Like, maybe it's just because we're easy to please, but I mean, if you make me laugh like a rom com, it's a good book.
Yeah. And like genuinely laugh out loud. Cause there's like books that I read and I'm like, oh haha, that's funny in my
Right.
head. But this one had me like, ooh.
Yeah, the Tada scene had me laughing, like, I was chuckling, my shoulders were shaking, like, it was funny. So, with that being said, that's pretty much what happened. We say that's pretty much what happened, but it's a lot of stuff happened, like, but it was good, it was funny, it was
Mhm.
happy, we're finally seeing them together, so
Yeah. And I'm glad that Bennett was the one who pulled the trigger on setting them up on this date because he was like, oh, also, they agreed to call the bed off
yes,
together. Yeah. So honestly, it was cute. I hope they get married. That's
me
all I can
too,
say.
but I was low-key thinking too, before we end this episode, because remember we had talked about how her sisters started asking about like the incompatibility stuff. Part of me is like, is her sister going to call off the wedding? Because
Okay.
it seemed like she was having doubts.
I thought that too in the treehouse. I thought that too.
Yes.
I was like, okay, wait, why is she asking all these questions? Also, I forgot to mention this is a huge part, but just totally skipped over it. Sorry, I thought that episode was going to end. It's not ending yet. We actually get information about her ex.
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to go? You want to take us
No,
through that?
you got it.
Okay, so Liv's ex was a snake. I mean, genuinely, zodiac signly and all the above. He
And
was a snake. So basically, they were incompatible. Obviously, she's a horse. He's a snake, and he was controlling. He was extremely jealous. Like every male client she had, he was like, "I don't get what you do. I don't get why you do it. I don't get your job. Like, why are you being like that? All this stuff." So then he gets a job opportunity in New York. So he says, and they're doing long distance. Okay. Come to find out, his ex lives in New York. And so he hits it off with her again. And so Bennett was like, oh, so like he left you for his ex? Ah, plot twist. No, because she became the long distance girlfriend. It was roles reversed because when he was with Liv, he was long distance dating the ex. And then he moved to New York to be with the ex and was long distancing Liv.
Men are trash, and I'm going to stand by that when it comes to books like this because, yeah, I was like, no wonder Liv is so angry. I would be too, homie.
Yes, and like I get it too, because like the whole best friend thing, the stealing the money thing, and all that. Like I get the incompatibility stuff, but that one, I was like, you really?
That that one
He
was
must
just him being
look.
scum.
He must be a Gemini.
I can't lie, I'm a Gemini, so I know we have a
Oh,
bad rep. But I know I'm like, but I will say that I have heard that Gemini men are the absolute worst. So, but I'm not a guy, so can't be
10
me.
out of 10. 10 out
Couldn't
of
be
10.
me.
She's not a snake. She's an ox.
Yeah.
So
I'm an ox. So, yeah, but that's funny because uh there's I
yeah,
don't this book is just it's great, guys. Just
yeah.
read it. Take our
So
advice.
sorry that we totally just left out that huge chunk of what we were. But anyways, all that to say, Liv Bennett, 10 out of 10. Bennett, 100 out of 10. Best character in the book, honestly, other than
Yeah.
Grandma.
Exactly. I love Pool. Like, she is just a typical funny grandma. Like, if you watch
Yeah,
any funny grandma in the back, like, that's her. She's a rom-com grandma. Like, what more could you
yeah.
want or expect? So,
Read the book, read it. I recommend 10 out of 10. It's so cute. I mean, so far. Well, you know what? Actually, let me finish the book before I recommend
Yeah.
recommend
Let's
it to
let's
you.
finish and then we'll see if we recommend it still, but so far just do it. But with that being said, that's all we have for today with Lunar Love. So if you liked it and of course want to finish off the book with us, we are almost done with Lunar Love, which means we're
Yeah,
probably
we
going
are.
to start a new book soon. So stay tuned with us to finish Lunar Love and hope you guys stay tuned for anything else that we do.
Yay! Bye.
Bye.